what happened by accident.
Howdy y'all, I'm back. Here I'm going to do another franchise playthrough, which I haven't done for a little while. And when I say franchise playthrough, it's not even like I played through the entire franchise, but what I deem to be the franchise. So like in my beginning of my sort of streaming that I started doing, which was, when was that, at the very end of last year, the beginning of this year sort of thing, I did Crash Bandicoot 1, 2 and 3 and Ratchet and Clank 1, 2 and 3, and I've been playing through a little bit of Ratchet and Clank. I think it's the fourth one, I'm pretty sure. Haven't completed it yet, but I've been streaming that. I need to get back to that one because I've just been trying to keep it, you know, a bit interesting, and also to keep myself interested, just bouncing between some different games, you know, as opposed to just slogging at the same thing stream after stream. Not to say you can't do that, it just depends what you're in the mood for. But yeah, I sort of thought, you know what, I haven't played the Final Fantasy games in some time, like really had to sort of a solid go of them, and so I thought I'm gonna tackle those, the ones that, you know, I deem to be the franchise. Which, if you're an actual Final Fantasy fan, then the answer for what's the best Final Fantasy game is the original Final Fantasy VII. Apparently there's something that's out on Steam or PlayStation that's called Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't know what that is because it's a different story. It's like got ghosts and things showing up in it. That's not Final Fantasy VII. I don't care what you say. It legitimately has the word remake in its title. That's not a remake. That's a different game because it's changed the story so dramatically. It's not the same game. So I'm going to play the game Final Fantasy VII, and basically start there, because not that that's like, you know, where I think everything before it sucks, but it's like Final Fantasy VII is the first in the series that I played, and then it's like the first one that shifted from Nintendo over to PlayStation, so there was a good chunk of time where Final Fantasy was only on PlayStation, and that was sort of the PlayStation 1 and 2, because when PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 came along, that was when we got up to like Final Fantasy 13, and that, I think, was the first one. I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy 13 was the first one in the series that no longer was just on PlayStation, and that was on like Xbox 360 as well. But if you know Final Fantasy, you know that everything after 10 basically sucks. I don't know anything about the massively multiplayer games of 11 and 14, so I've got no opinion about those whatsoever. I never got into them. So if you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. But I've got yay or nay to say about them. What I love about but I've definitely played 13. And there's like 3 games that they made for 13. Like, so there's 13, 13.2, and 13.3, which seems like bizarre titling, but it's what it is. And of all the games to make sequels to, they made sequels to what is definitely definitely the worst, without a doubt, Final Fantasy game I've ever played. It's just so stripped down, and there's nothing to it. It's just like everyone gets a gold star. It's just embarrassing. But my generation of what I deem to be Final Fantasy, like the good stuff, like I say, is if you're actually a Final Fantasy fan, then the correct answer for the greatest Final Fantasy game is the original Final Fantasy VII, which came out in 1997. Now, if your second or third choice, like, you know, what's your second favourite and your third favourite, I can listen to some other ideas there, but it would be amongst Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 10. If you want to vary those answers around, that's fine with me, but it's definitely got to be some of those. If your answers are outside of that, you know, hey, everyone likes what they like, but I think you're wrong. You know, basically, I don't care if you like, oh, but the better graphics. It's like, yeah, everything that comes out newer should have better graphics. If it doesn't, then it failed, you know, miserably, because it should have better graphics. That's not like a thing, you know. It's like saying, oh, I like this horror movie because it's got better effects than than Evil Dead 1. It's like, yeah, do you know how when Evil Dead 1 was made and like what budget they had and everything? But yet how absolutely amazing it is regardless. It's like Final Fantasy VII is an absolute masterpiece of a video game. My two most favourite video games of all time came out back to back. Like basically you get 1 year after the other. Final Fantasy VII in 1997 and Metal Gear Solid 1 in 1998. That might be something I get to at some point as well, a Metal Gear Solid playthrough. I saw a guy called Epic Mike. He's a actual, proper big YouTuber, streamer person, who I watch and, follow him on X and do a lot of, followed some of his stuff. And he did that, so it's like I sort of was like, not that I was going to just now, but I was like, oh, okay, I saw someone doing it. I don't know if I immediately want to jump and do that myself. Just because even in my own silly little head, I feel like I'm copying. But I'm sure there's how many people out there doing Final Fantasy playthroughs. So, hey, everyone's copying someone somehow. As long as you're not consciously trying to do it and you clearly got your own sort of intention of, hey, I'm coming at it from this place. And for me, I'm coming at it from, like, I'm born in 1989. So, I turned 8. I was 8. I turned 8 in 1997. And that was when I was like, PlayStation 1 was where, like, I got that when I was about 5 or maybe 6, when my dad bought a PlayStation 1, and that was where I really started to get into video games. Like, we had a Sega Master System too when I was a kid, and we had, like, Sonic the Hedgehog on it, and if you didn't put the cartridge in, if you didn't have a cartridge in, it would have Alex the Kid play. And I liked playing it, but I wasn't, like, hugely into video games. Just, like, bog standard. Hey, I'll play it and have a go on it, because as kids do. But I wasn't, like, super into it. But then PlayStation 1 came along and I was like, oh, this is my jams right here. This is my jammies. And, only a year or two into that experience of playing that, I'm playing Ridge Racer Revolution and Tekken 2 and things like that. And then you get, like, a memory card so you can unlock all the characters on Tekken 2 and actually keep them, so that they don't disappear when you reset turn off the console or whatever. And, Final Fantasy VII is one of those games, like any Final Fantasy game, you need a memory card to be able to play that game. You can't not have a memory card. I mean, you could keep playing it. If you die, you can go restart, I think, or whatever again or something, I think. Actually, you might, if you die, I think actually you might need to load the game. So you might actually have to start all over again. So basically, you really do, you need to have a memory card. Otherwise, it's like playing permadeath or something, This is where it all started, though, for me. This is like kind of the definitive first role-playing game as well that I really sunk the teeth that I had at the time into. And here I am now, 35 years old, a lot older, a lot more damaged, a lot wiser, maybe. And I'm going to go back in time to 1997, and I'm even going to play it with the original graphics. I changed it so it doesn't have that. Like when I was playing Halo recently, I had sort of the remastered graphics on because I want to see what they've done with the graphics. And the one thing that they did do good with those games was they sort of gave it a nice polish of graphics and stuff over it. But then they jinxed everything. That's another story. You can look into that and hear my wonderful opinions about that. But here we are, back at the very beginning of my role-playing game experience, there was a lot that I never played, but like Final Fantasy was definitely a big one for me, and like 7, 8, 9, and 10 were like the definitive experiences of like role-playing games for me. And so that's what I tend to do here, is I'm going to start with 7, and then I want to try work my way through those 4 games, so 7 being one of them, 7, 8, 9, and 10, so if you want to come along for the ride, you're more than welcome. If you don't, well then, hey, it is what it is. But either way, I'll be here playing Final Fantasy. So hopefully you join. If you like it, like the video. If you don't, tell me how you feel about it and see what I can do to maybe improve. Always trying to get better somehow. But yeah, subscribe if you can. To YouTube. I'm also on X, on Twitter. We start more and more calling it X, but every so often I can just call it Twitter out of some sort of spasmy muscle memory. And so for the person that hasn't been on the internet in a minute and is like, what's X? And so yeah, follow me on YouTube, X, all that. I was going to do it again. He was going to call it again. And so here we go, back to the very beginning. So let's not muck around anymore. Let's get into it. And once again, I got to change the thumbnail for Megami Game. Come on, you think you're a professional by now, mate? You know, sort it out. Okay, hopefully it picks it up. Do I need to use a different window? I actually haven't tested this, so let's see. Oh, what's it doing now? Oh, goodness gracious me. It's being drama. We'll sort it out. What is it doing? It doesn't want to shut down, but it doesn't want... It doesn't want to shut down, but it doesn't want to actually exit out of it. Actually, let's do this. Oh, good God. Of course it's going to do this to me now. It was running perfectly fine, and now it's going to be drama. There we go. Okay. Yeah, no, you're not responding, you little fucker. Okay. Starting again. Here we go. Best of luck, chaps. Come on, laddies. Here we go. We got the thumbnail up. We got there. Normally I actually do open the game. I did open the game, but, you know, normally I sort of actually look at it on the Streamlabs side of things before I turn it on. And of course, because I didn't, Area, you're not allowed to run multiple instances of the same program. I'm not. I'm Nazis. There we go. Woo! Loud noises! Woo! Here we go. Here we go. Here we go again. Yep, pressing the button. Got some weird ass controls going on. We've got to figure that out. Of course, it's got to be doing something strange. It has the... Oh, my sweet goodness gracious. Where is it? Where is it? Settings. Controller. Where's the controller settings, mate? That's what we need to use. PlayStation 4 controller. Okay, none of that is telling me anything helpful whatsoever. Okay, let's just get the game going. Here we go. Eris or Erith. I always forget which one it is because I sort of remember both names 50-50. in Japan, which is the people that made this game, the name is like one thing, and then in the Western version it's another. So in one version it's Eris, in the other version it's Aerith. I think Aerith is the Western one. I think that's what I remember. Once we see them talking, we'll look at the scale that they're able to make back then. This was like huge for like, oh my god, like there's like people on the street walking around. Like it's like a world. 1997, Square, Final Fantasy VII. This is it, man. This is the OG role-playing game. It doesn't get any better than this. Here we go. We go from a cutscene back into video game. Or into video game, not back, because we weren't ever really there. One of the most amazing soundtracks for like a video game that I ever heard as well. The music, the score for this game is just awesome. Trying to sort of get used to the controls. I've forgotten them, mate. It's been such a long time. They feel a bit strange, to be honest. There has to be like something. I just want to turn the sound down just a little bit. I don't feel like there's any way to turn just the music volume down for this game. Is there something I can do about that? Not voice. Music. Volume. No, that's not what I'm looking at. Oh, golly golly gosh. Okay, there we go. I just want it to be... I'm probably going to be hearing it louder than you guys will anyway. So this is pre-voice acting for Final Fantasy as well by a few entries. It's not until Final Fantasy X that voice acting came along, which added like a whole other layer to it that you just sort of... I'd never really thought about it until it showed up. It's like with Grand Theft Auto 3, where you can't crouch in GTA 3. But in Vice City, the next one, which only came out like a year later, I think I saw on my other stream earlier today, that was the first one to let you crouch. And then when you go back to GTA 3, you're like, oh, it's so weird not being able to crouch. But it's not as bad like that, because it's not exactly a gameplay mechanic. That sort of, hang on, we now have, it's like an appendage that our species evolved to use and then to have. We went back to a version of ourselves temporarily that like, oh, you've got a puppet control an older version of a human being that doesn't have it. My strange way of trying to explain GTA 3's like a crouch button. This music right here is some of the OG Final Fantasy music. The battle music. It was another thing with whatchamacallit, with being a text-based communication method. You don't ever hear the accents of the characters, and you never then also... It's not like you ever 100% knew maybe how they're pronounced. Like, not that they're hard to pronounce words, but it wasn't like you had that, there was that missing element. So they never made like a sequel video game to this. But they did make a movie, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which is like a couple of years or something, 2 or 3, something like that after the movie. And that came out in like the mid-2000s, I want to say. I was pretty sure I was at high school when that came out, and I loved that, but the people that I watched it with, they just had no clue about like Final Fantasy, so they didn't get what the hell was going on. And the original version of it was very much, which I loved. It was made like for people that had played the game, basically. Like, if you're going to watch the original Advent Children movie, the theatrical version of it, you call it, you definitely needed to have played the game to fully get what was going on. But there was like a version that they made called Final Fantasy VII Complete, which was like basically a version that if you hadn't played the game, it was more understandable, I would argue. And I enjoyed it as well. It wasn't like a worse version, but it was just that the original version worked for me, because I played the original game, so then, hey, I understand the sequel story. That happens to be in movie form instead of a video game, but I get what it's telling me. But I can understand because it's based on a video game from 1997, and the movie sequel came out in the mid-2000s. Not everyone's going to have played something on that interacted with something on one format. Whereas if the first thing, like if this game was a movie and then this Advent Children was just the second movie, it'd be a bit different, Save points. Oh no. Keep hitting the wrong button. I also keep wanting to use the D-pad to move the character around, use these buttons. But it won't even look, because that's what you originally had to use, because there was no DualShock, controllers when this game came out. Now, that wasn't a thing yet. But now it's like only making me use this. It'll only accept that. It won't accept movement from those. So I'm also playing it through Steam, not an emulator or anything, so that's what it's got, like a certain controller, but like settings because of that. Whereas if I was playing it on an emulator, it actually might let me tinker with it. Picked up some materia. is like magic, basically. You equip materia to yourself, and it allows you to use particular magic. What a great description of that. Wow, mate, the magic thing allows you to do magic. Oh, shit. You're a Sherlock Holmes, aren't you? Come on. This isn't just a reactor. See, Mako, I always would call it, because that you didn't know how things were pronounced, but then in the movie of the sequel, Advent Children, it was called, I think they pronounced Mako. Marco Polo. You know, like that. Oh, fuck! Because of the bloody DualShock, I'd hit the wrong thing. I was wondering if that was going to happen. Okay. Just wasted my turn doing nothing. The Guard Scorpion. I'm nerdy enough I remember that. That was the name of this boss, Guard Scorpion. And limit breaks, I just used a limit break, so that's like a special, build-up thing. You get your character angry enough or attacked enough and they... Oh, you keep trying to hit that. In my head, for some reason, I thought there was like another menu that I could bring up for like controllers or something. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Because I played this game a while ago on Steam, quite a while ago. And I swear I thought there was another menu that they had added into it. Okay, now this is where you don't want to attack. Because if you attack him, he hits you with like the tail laser. And it hits both characters, so zzz, sort of like a War of the Worlds heat beam. So heal up your character in these moments like this. Oh, it's coming back down. Now we're going for the attack. Once more into the breach, laddies! Show 'em what for! Search scope, it just scans you. I think that allows it to sort of be more accurate on me. I think something like that, if I recall. If I totally recall. Scorpion tail. So that's an attack, but it's not the mother of all attacks type of thing. Braver. So that's Cloud's limit break. One of the most iconic weapons of all time as well. Actually, there's a couple of iconic weapons in this, like Barrett, the black guy here next to me, like as if I'm Cloud as well. Like, no, I'm him. Yeah. Who are you? That's me in the game. This music here. The Final Fantasy Victory music, this is in basically all of them, some variation of it. It's always that same general sound. Oh, the alarm's going off. Alarm! Alarm! Yeah, and an actual timer starts, so even when you go into the battles, the timer keeps going. So you're like, do I want to stay in this battle and keep doing this, or do I want to keep going? You get plenty of time, though. I always remember that, like, in this game, it still lets you do it. If you, just pretend to run away quickly and then let go of it, it turns the characters around. Which they turned off in the later games. Because if you got your back to them, you get more damage done to you. Because it's like a sneak attack. But, yeah. So yeah, Barrett's got the gun arm, which is quite a unique sort of weapon design. Like, it's not often you see that in media, like a gun arm character, so that's pretty unique. It's not like it's a cliche that's been done to death, especially back in 1997, that was very unique. And Cloud's Buster Sword, the Buster Sword, it's like that huge sword that he has. Look at it. And he wields it around like it's nothing. How did I turn that target off? the way they just disappear. They turn red, and the bosses are quite weird because they'll turn red, and that, like, the bigger the boss, the sort of the longer they before they sort of they try and make it really epic and slow. Yeah, they make it slow to make it epic, I should say. Oh, hang on, shit, wrong way. And that character's got their foot stuck. I remember that. So you've got to go over there. Help them get their foot out. It's funny that I brought up the sequel story to this, the movie, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which is a very good movie, but a weird side effect that kind of came off of that movie, it's not totally responsible for it, it was probably going to happen to some degree anyway, but it definitely seemed to kind of occur immediately after the film, was suddenly the games, all the other Final Fantasy games afterwards, had to start doing they had to start trying to make the way the characters fight in the movie Advent Children. They had to start, they started trying to make the characters in the video games allow you to make them move around the way they do in the movie. Because this is a turn-based game, so there's obviously a certain style to how they like fight. It's, you know, it's not exactly what's happening in reality. You know, they don't, the screen, it's not like they flash and they go into some other world. That's just like the representation for us as the gaming audience to understand that. Suddenly it goes a little bit quiet for a while, you know. Oh, good God, you know. The music died down a smidge. And yeah, and I remember noticing that with like Final Fantasy, because what came out, I think it was Final Fantasy 12 was sort of the next main entry, because there was 11, which is a multiplayer online sort of game. And then there was 12, which was a PS2 game, and it was the last one of that. It was the last PlayStation exclusive one. And that had a half and half version of it was sort of turn-based. You would kind of go into an environment a little bit, but not entirely. And then 13 got rid of the random battle thing that would happen, and you just fought in the same area that you ran around in. And it just became this, like, how do I put it? Just everyone, like, became more and more like Dragon Ball Z. You know, people just bouncing around super quickly, fighting each other. Which, that's sort of what we would imagine it be like in the world. But the gameplay style that we got used to is this turn-based random battle type of thing. So it just changed further and it was weird. It was becoming truer and truer into what the sense of what was probably going on in the world of this, but it unwittingly became further away from what we loved about it, you know, or one of the things that we loved about it. And it wasn't like we consciously were like, you know, oh, we love it because it's turn-based. That's a thing that you also like. But, you know, once they take it away, you realise, it's one of those things you realise, hey, that actually was a good part about it. We liked that thing, and we don't like where you've taken it. And the one thing that I do have, because I can always at least give this to games, which is, I cannot like the direction a story's gone in a game, whether it's like a sequel or it's a remake, you know, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I'll always compliment if it is good gameplay. And with Final Fantasy VII Remake, I felt like they finally kind of found a fusion of trying to maintain that original feeling of Final Fantasy VII combat that we all loved, of Final Fantasy X and earlier, but they brought it into that sort of the real time, the way the characters would bounce around in reality type of feel. But even though I don't like this, because they've totally changed the story, it's a totally different kind of thing going on now. There's time travel-y, alternate universe shit and stuff going on that just is not a part of this at all. And so I felt the same about The Last of Us 2, where I was like, fuck, the bloody story, I'm not happy with that. But I could at least compliment that the gameplay was fantastic. Like, I love playing some Last of Us 2 gameplay. It's really good in that regard. Another thing about the text-based style of communication in this game is that you can have characters swear. Like Barrett swears a lot. Technically any character can, but it's only generally Barrett that seems to mainly do it. Most of the time. But they just have hashtag, @ exclamation mark, you know. They just use symbols or whatever to sort of censor it out. Whereas once, because Final Fantasy VII Remake has a voice acting cast, and it's like a game that like kids are meant to be allowed to play as well, the swearing isn't there. Which isn't a huge part of it, but it's part of it, you know, so it's just another change. This is my house, so make yourselves at home. That's funny. He lives on the train, does he? I'm not trying to go into there. I'm literally trying to talk to them. Oh no, what's going on? Oh my gosh. Oh goodness gracious. Oh Brian. Oh. Whatever shall we do, Brian? The alarm was going. Oh no, it's perfectly fine now. Oh, it's okay. No dramas. I'm not trying to talk to you, dickhead. Some of the shots that they would do in this game as well, like wide shots and stuff that they would try and do of locations like the city that were in Midgar at the beginning. Like, it's obviously, when you look back on it, it's quite limited. But they managed to make it like do a lot with what they had to work with back then. Here we go, here's a bit of swearing. It's because of that fucking pizza that people underneath are suffering. That's clearly what he's saying there. But they just thing it out. So you're allowed to have that thing of oomph of him saying that, whilst also not sort of going, teaching the kids, oh yeah, he's saying fuck, you know. So... But this is the difference where, like, a video game made now of this, they can obviously show just everything, just willy-nilly, and oh wow! So everything looks amazing in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll give them that. Like, the graphics are amazing, because I played a little bit of that game, the first one, and And I like that there's kind of like each game is a disc, because Final Fantasy VII, being a PlayStation 1 game, it was divided up onto discs, because if a game was big enough, it wasn't going to be on just one disc. And this game was 3. I think, I forget how many 8 was, but I know 9 is Final Fantasy 9 was 4 discs. And then Final Fantasy X was on PlayStation 2, so that they were able to fit that onto one disc. Which is kind of insane considering the graphics quality of that game, and also the fact that it had voice acting and all of that stuff. And just some epic cutscenes as well. And Final Fantasy X might be my... I love Final Fantasy VII the most. But if I had to just... if someone asked me, like, what's your favourite soundtrack out of a Final Fantasy game? I think I might go with 10. 10's got some banger tracks on it, mate. Like, absolutely top shelf. Everyone's in the bar and he just kicks them out like, sorry, need it now, bugger off. Because one thing that they're able to do in the remake was really give you the scale of the city. Which not like it felt tiny in this. They gave you enough depth and feeling of scale, the feeling of it, but in the remake they can really just actually show that scale. It'd be like if they'd tried to do the Lord of the Rings. There were those great AI trailers that came out just recently of like Lord of the Rings, if they were made in the 1980s, and all of the guys will have their tops off and everything because it's all very Conan the Barbarian inspired. I think maybe that's what the AI thinks is like, well, if it's a fantasy movie from the 1980s, there we go. Here's Tifa, one of the girls, and whatchamacallit, if it was a 1980s fantasy movie, I guess it thinks of like, oh, well, it would be like Conan the Barbarian or something, you know? Oh, they're all eating. Looks like a giant bottle of, what's that green bottle there, do you reckon? Is that some alcoholic drink, probably? Because it is a bar. I was thinking, though, when I see it, though, it reminds me of, like, a giant bottle of, like, Mountain Dew or something. Pardon me. Mountain Dew or, one of those things. But it's probably some sake or something. Notice how he gets to just go down in it like that with the secret little elevator. Everyone else jumps down. They don't make games like this anymore. Even on their best day. They don't come close. And Soldier is like the elite unit that the bad guys have. And the bad guys being the Shinra Corporation. This game having like some of the most amazing themes and talking and being one of the most like one of the things that I loved about this video game, and I recognized that as a kid, was how like they were really able to tell a story with a video game. So many other video games just felt like the story was just this totally aside thing to just explain why you went from one level to the next, and it was like, oh shit, we need to put some text or something in front of at the end of that level and the beginning of the next level to explain why you're why you're now on a street level, or why you're now in a sewer, or why you're now on a museum level, or whatever game it is and whatever thing you're going through. And it was just all about giving you the gameplay, but there was no story. It was just purely gameplay, and so you could get to run around like Tetris or something, and I can make the things move around, but there was like no emotional attachment to it. And then people were like, what if we tell a story like a movie and make people feel something and like maybe say something? And Final Fantasy VII went balls to the wall with that. Same with Metal Gear Solid 1 the year after this. So they're a part of... So like the Shinra Corporation is basically a giant corporation that's sucking the life force out of the planet. And the Mako, those reactors, those Mako reactors, we just blew one up. They are sucking Mako out of which is the life force out of the planet. Slowly but surely it's killing the planet. So there's some great themes there. And just... as an 8-year-old kid to just be playing this and just be like, just discovering like, wow, that like you can craft like all of this into a, such an amazing experience. Like what you could do with storytelling with a video game. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to make video games, and it was like, this was like the sort of thing that inspired me. Like Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid 1, just things where they could, give you a great gameplay experience, but also just really just, suck you in like a great movie. Like we already start off in the middle of the story and we're like, what's going on? We're following this guy, Cloud. He's this loner character. He does this mission, blows up this place with these people, goes back there. He just wants to get paid because he just seems to be like a mercenary. This chick Tifa, though, that's a part of this terrorist group, supposedly, Avalanche. They're freedom fighters, they're just trying to save the planet. They were from the same town, so he has childhood memories with it, and this is one of them. And this is probably the first of the games as well to because it was the first game that was sort of 3D. It had 2D backgrounds, and you can see there all the background is 2D, but the character models are 3D. And so the designs of the characters could get even more complicated. Whereas in the past, you would sort of more see the characters would look a certain way. Like it's like you're playing Pokemon, you're looking from sort of the top, sort of not exactly the top down, but sort of an angled top down. Like like Link to the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, or a Pokemon style game. What was I going to say? The profile sort of pictures that you would look at in the inventory menu of the game would be more where you'd see like, okay, there's a picture of their face or something, and that would be a better representation of like what they wanted the character to look like. Now they can make the character look more like that in the actual running around, because even in the battles of the earlier ones, they couldn't quite do that. There was like a happy medium from 7 to 10. I think that's the thing as well. There was just this amazing happy medium of everything. They hadn't gone too far, but they'd gone far enough. That's the sleep music. anytime you like rest your character, like that music kicks in. Oh, for fuck's sake. I swear I wasn't even up the top there and it already went back down. I was being too hasty. Don't be hasty, Master Marionette. Ooh, next to you, who wouldn't? I don't know what you mean. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Don't lie. You loved it. No, you loved it, didn't you? She like it a lot. It's quite a funny style of tutorial where a character is asking you to explain it to them. So in turn, us, the gameplay audience, understands how it works if we don't know. But they give the option of explaining it. Maybe you don't want to do it. But it's just funny how it's not like someone teaching you, your character, it. But by due process of that storytelling, of having, oh, well, we don't need to have someone telling your character it. All we need to do is have it be said. So that way us, the audience, knows. And even a lot of games afterwards aren't smart enough to do that. They just go, oh, well, you know, we need to have the character be told that, you know, press the X button to do this, or... Ba-ba, ba-ba. Give her the restore. And that's his original gun. Well, his original weapon, I should say. This is original gun, but original weapon. They don't let you sell the original weapon once you upgrade, use another weapon, like change, because you buy multiple weapon up throughout the game. But they're all just representations of the same type of weapon, or sometimes the fire or the type of thing changes a bit, especially for Barrett with the type of gun that he has. But it's still a gun arm type of weapon. The only thing is though is they don't let you sell the OG weapon. You've got to keep that one. But there's no weight system to this, so it doesn't matter about having to carry so much stuff really. It's just, you know, if you need money and you know it's something that you can sell, well hey, you can sell it. Just intimidating that guy. Just aiming his gun at him. Pretty sure, I think. Even just the stuff of like the shaking of all the, you know, the handles to sort of hold if you're standing and you need to sort of, you know, balance yourself. Keep it up. You gotta keep moving from cart to cart, from carriage to carriage. Move. I know there's a guy here that tries to steal from you or something. You gotta grab it back off him. Move. This guy here, this one running away. Get out of the way. That was a funny, weird little thing there. This guy to the left here looks pretty dodgy, eh? Like, what's he with his like weird sort of 1930s private eye sort of outfit on, and his sort of really dodgy looking mustache, like it looks like it might be fake. And then there's the train guard who's just standing there like, what? What's going on? What? What's happening? And they're just jumping off of the train. I'm going to try keep these strings a bit shorter as well, because I'm going to be playing, there's a lot of this game to play, and I don't want to break them up into, I don't want to have them just sort of be in huge massive chunks. I can obviously edit them after the fact, but it's just easier to sort of keep them at a certain level, a certain, length. So I'm sort of thinking, I'm just over an hour right now, I'm thinking maybe an hour and a half I'll aim for. Because it's a long way to go through this game. Yeah, see, now I've snuck up on these guys, so I'm behind them. And if you're behind them, if someone's behind you, your back's aimed. If your back's aimed to them, you get more damage done to you. I think that's the direction I'm going to go. And you need to do a certain amount of battling though. You can't just avoid it all or anything, because you have to level up your character. So you get more health, like hit points. And so it's and to level up your materia, so you get better magic. So you do have to do a certain amount of battling. It's not just like, oh well, I'll keep running. As long as I can run away, I'm fine. It's like, you do actually have to, like a role-playing game, any old role-playing game, you've got to do a certain amount of character growth. Cloud has the best, definitely the best, victory pose. Out of, I would say, of any of the Final Fantasy games. The spinning of the giant Buster Sword in one hand and then putting it behind his back. Like that. The weird slide down that he does. Ether. That restores your magic. Or adds, not totally restores it, but, gives you a certain amount of magic points back. Or mana, if it was Diablo, I think. Give me a, funny. And now I see there's characters on both sides. Which is something they did in the earlier games, I'm pretty sure. That's not like a new addition. But, you know, it's just part of the game. You attack on both sides. Surrounded. And then you can't run away in situations like this. At least not, I think, until you've cleared one side. Because these are random battles, though, you can run away though from them. Whereas in boss battles, once you're in it, you've got it. There's no running away from a boss battle. Level up. It's weird, you gotta push forwards, like up on the DualShock. Oh fuck yeah, I thought I was going that way. I was like, am I gonna come out of that bloody thing? Like, yeah, I am. You have to press up, but you're kind of coming towards you, so you'd think naturally, like, you'd press down, like, to come towards the screen, you know, the screen. So it's a very odd sort of direction you got to take there. Another save point. I've actually got to remember that, because I'm playing it on Steam. I can't save, like, on an emulator, you could be sneaky and save wherever you want. Can't do that in this game. I've got to stick to the PlayStation rules. I can only save at the save points, which is how it's meant to go. You know? Get back into it. Pressing the wrong button. Tent. It's funny how quickly I just used that. A tent just sort of basically refills your character's health and magic. All the characters in your party. And it's just quickly done like that. I forget how 8 did it, but I know in 9, they actually do a little cutaway where you see a tent snoozing where the save point is. Because they do have a different type of... they use a different thing for the save points in 9. But like they actually make a little quick cutaway out of it. Okay. Actually, let's call that a stream. We're an hour and 8 minutes in. We're currently up to this part of the game. Just make sure I have saved, didn't I? Yep, let's just confirm, because I'm being autistic like that. Return to Windows. Okay. This game's going to take me a long time. I obviously know what I'm doing with it. Oh, come on. Trying to get the PlayStation controller on the charger. First world problems, mate. But yeah, this game's going to have a lot of what do you call it? Time to sort of take to play through. But so it's going to be quite an experience. So as time goes on, you know, hopefully it doesn't become too boring for people. But I don't want to make it just, you know, a few streams that are like each stream's a crazy length. Like even if I look at my Ratchet and Clank streams, I think like there's about 5 of them. I think for the first game, and each one of them I think is like a few hours. Let me actually have a quick look at that before I depart for another end of another stream, laddie. Where are we? Lives? Looking at the lives, yeah. Right, I've got to go back further. I remember when I started out streaming and it was all just on one page. Now I've actually got to scroll back a little bit. Here we go. There's the first Ratchet and Clank. Right, there's these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 5 of them. Yeah, and like the first stream is an hour and 12. The second is 2 hours 51. The third is 2 hours 57. The fourth is 4 hours and 36 minutes. And then the fourth is that. And then the fifth one is 2 hours 22 minutes. A little bit shorter than I thought, but like overall it's quite a, you know, it's quite a compressed amount, you know, like for how much hours there are. I compressed it into a fairly sort of thing amount of time, even for like is that the second one Yeah, the second one, 1 hour and 45, then 4 hours and 4 minutes, then 2 hours 35, then 2 hours 56, then 3 hours 21. And then the third game I did in 4 streams, 1 hour 55, 2 hours 45, 4 hours 17, and then 37 minutes 46 seconds. That one was a little bit... The third one definitely felt a little bit more streamlined. I sort of forgot about that until I played it. But yeah, so not trying to aim to make super duper long streams. I want to try and keep them maybe to 1 hour, hour 30 per stream for the Final Fantasy ones. Because there's going to be, there's like 3 discs worth of story to unfold for this one. And then I forget how many discs 8 is. It's at least 3. It might be 4, but it's at least 3. So there's a bunch of story to get through. And then 9 is 4 discs. And then 10 is, But it could be on 1 disc and still be really long. But just even knowing that it's on multiple discs and it's a PlayStation 1 game, you're like, okay, so there's X amount on each one. But yeah, that's the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. So I'll love yous and leave yous. It's getting late where I am. Not that I'm immediately off to bed, but I am sort of actually feeling a little bit tired. I need to eat something. And then I'll be back tomorrow to probably play some more. So until then, guys, talk soon. Catch you later.